ओम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्रीकृष्णचैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौरभक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So we shall continue from text 27 onwards, from the 9th chapter of Canto Bhagavatam. Just give me. Okay. Text 27. Dana dharman raja dharman moksha dharman vibhagashan stri dharman bhagavat dharman samasa vyasa yogatah. He then explained by division acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. So, Yudhishthira Maharaj, when he started inquiring from Bhishma Dev, Bhishma Dev described different kinds of prescribed duties. So, the words which are used here is dharma. You see, there are different dharmas which are being described here. Dana dharma, Raja dharma, Moksha dharma, Stri dharma, Bhagavad dharma. So, in modern times, people have a very inappropriate understanding of word dharma. In fact, in modern times, people have the understanding of adharma also as dharma. Actually, there is the intricate meaning here. The dharma means prescribed duty. The word dharma actually means duty. It doesn't mean any religion, as poorly, translated by the modern scholars. The word dharma does not mean religion. The word dharma means duty. So nowadays, like say people say, Christian dharma, Muslim dharma, Hindu dharma. These are not dharmas. So, in fact, the so-called dharmas nowadays, they have a lot of prescriptions which are according to Vedas as adharma. According to the descriptions of Bhishma Dev and according to Vedic version, whatever is regarded to nowadays as dharma is actually adharma. Like for example, in Muslim religion, they say okay, eating of the cow's flesh is allowed. Okay. Of course, cow is not allowed even in Muslim dharma. That's the Muslim religion as well. But that's how they propagate nowadays. In Muslim tradition also, there is no question of eating flesh of cow. But they have taken it upon themselves that this is their dharma. This is their religion, to eat the flesh of cow. None of the religion of the world give sanction of killing the cow. But that's considered dharma now. No? So, dharma, so many things go in the name of dharma nowadays, even though they are actually adharma. Though these are the activities which are forbidden according to scriptures. So, the meaning of dharma is actually prescribed duties. So, dana dharma means the duty in relationship to performing charity. Now, see, people generally think, what is there to be understood in terms of duty for charity? Giving charity also is a tremendous responsibility of every human being. According to Bhagavad Gita, there are different rules and regulations to be followed in terms of charity. You cannot give charity to anyone or everyone and whatever you like. No. Charity also follows certain stringent rules and regulations. Charity should be only given to Brahmanas or Vaishnavas. It should not be given to anyone or everyone. And charity should be given at an appropriate time of a desirable thing. Like nowadays, people, they donate all kinds of foodstuffs, forbidden foodstuffs, like the canned foods and the different kinds of foodstuff which are actually having animal flesh in it. Such a charity leads a person to the hellish condition of life. So it's not that just because I'm giving food in charity, therefore, I'm getting blessings. No. Anyone who's giving charity of the flesh of animals is definitely leading towards the hellish condition of life. Tremendous suffering is awaiting that person. So even to give charity, there are a lot of rules and regulations. One has to understand what is the object that is worthy of giving in charity, what is not worthy of giving in charity. So you never give poison in charity. You never give flesh in charity to anyone. You never give, kind of hair in charity to anyone. So these are the things which are forbidden in charity. You give charity to Brahmanas, generally the Vaishnava or Brahmanas are object of charity. So the charity things that can be given are the gold, money, clothing, food grains, the living cows decorated with beautiful ornaments, or giving horses and horse carriages beautifully decorated with ornaments. So these are the things which are to be given in charity and at an appropriate time. There are also forbidden times for giving charity. The charity should be given at appropriate time to appropriate person of the appropriate thing with appropriate intentions. So these are the certain rules which Bhishmadev actually explained very elaborately. Then Rajadharma. Rajadharma means nowadays, for example, people think if I become somehow the head of the state, if I am by votes I can somehow get into the power, then my duty is to somehow or others keep people satisfied. That is never used to be the duty of the king. A person who is in the leadership position of the people in general has no business in trying to satisfy the whims of people. Like, for example, the modern politicians, when they come in power, they become simply puppets in the hands of corporates. So No, they just simply do think, okay, statutory warning, smoking causes cancer. So they think, okay, I have done my duty. I have told people this is, this particular thing is being sold in the market, and this is causing cancer. So my duty is done. But a true king would never allow such a thing to be sold in the market in the first place, because he knows people in general are less intelligent. If their people are in general are given freedom, complete freedom, then they will misuse it and even harm themselves. So the king's duty used to be deciding what is good for people in general, what is not good for them, and only allow the good things which are actually beneficial for people to be reaching to them. And whatever is not beneficial, completely restricted, forbidden, no question of entertaining. Just because the rich corporates are giving me some under the table some money, my bank balance is being set up in Swiss account, and therefore I can do whatever nonsense I want. I'll set up the laws in their favor, and and then go to hell. Let the whole population go to hell, and I will also go to hell. That is not Rajadharma. Rajadharma means the kings used to restrict all the things that are unbeneficial for people in general and only give them beneficial education. Like especially educating people in general in Krishna consciousness. What is the goal of human life? We should try to understand the goal of human life and go back home, back to God. That is Rajadharma. And then Moksha Dharma. Moksha Dharma means, trying to understand the acts which actually lead a person to liberation, complete freedom from the material existence, the complete liberty of the living entity. Stri Dharma, what are the duties of women? Woman, when she is unmarried, she is living under the care of the father and mother. What are her duties? When a woman gets married, and goes to the husband's home, what are her duties? And then woman, during the menstrual periods, what are her duties? When the woman is pregnant, what are her duties to be done? So different times, at different occasions, there are different duties for a woman to be performed. Say, for example, once a woman becomes pregnant, there are certain duties to be strictly followed. The woman especially cannot go out after the sunset, and especially after pregnancy. During the pregnancy, when eclipse happens, the woman should try to avoid, eating any kind of foodstuffs or start cooking anything or cutting vegetables during the eclipse time. These are things which are forbidden, which is a woman may do regularly on daily basis otherwise. So there are certain things, rules and regulations to be followed. So Bhishma Dev actually gave detailed description of all these dharmas to Yudhishthira Maharaj. You go to the next verse, text 28. Dharmartha kama moksham cha saho payan yatha muni nana khyane ihaseshu varnayam asatat pavit. Then he described the occupational duties of different orders and statuses of life, citing instances from history. For he was himself well acquainted with the truth. And dharma artha kama moksha cha sahopayan yathamani. So Bhishma Dev also described the varnashram duties. Varnyam he described he gave the description of the different duties of varna and ashramas. You know, and dharma, artha, kama, moksha, for the purpose of attaining the four goals of human life. These four are considered purusharthas: dharma, artha, kama, moksha. These are considered four purusharthas, means the goals for human society. The human society in general has these four goals. They want to attain dharma. You want to follow the process of dharma for the sake of artha, economic development, so that they can have fulfillment of their desires, kama, and ultimately, moksha, salvation from this material existence. So Bhishmadev described the duties which can help a person to fulfill dharma, artha, kama, moksha, and nana akhyane itihaseshu. Akhyana means, the stories or histories, you can say. And itihasa means history, actually. So akhyana means generally, it says, ancient instance I'm narrating to you. Some story I'm telling you. Not exactly story. Akhyan means the real instant that transpired in the past. And itihasa. Itihasa means the real history. So he quoted from the Akhyana and Itihasas. He did not just whimsically delineate or give the outline of the duties. He gave the references from the scriptures, from the historical instances. And text 29. Dharmam pravadatastasya sakala pratyupasthita yo yogina chandra mrityur yo yoginas chanda mrityur vanchitas Vanchitastuttarayana. While Bhishma was describing occupational duty, the sun's course ran into the northern hemisphere. This period is desired by mystic who die at their will. So, in this verse, Chanda Mrityu is actually a very significant word. It's also called Swachanda, by one's own desire. Chanda means Swachanda, or Chanda means, one who can decide when I want to. That calls Swachanda. And Mrityu means death. So when a person is able to decide when he or she will leave the body or die from this world, that is called Chanda Mrityu. So generally yogis, they are capable of Swachanda Mrityu. They can choose when they will leave from this world. We cannot. Say, ordinary people, they are simply forced to die. Not only forced to die, we are forced to become diseased. We are forced to fall asleep, especially if you're tired from the whole day's labor. Naturally, in the evening, you start feeling very drowsy, even if you don't want to. So many people actually die while driving because they fall asleep because they cannot control. They have no control over their sleep because they were tired and they were driving and they fell asleep and then died. So what's the question of controlling the death or deciding when I should die? So the yogis, because they can decide when they want to die, they generally choose the time of Uttarayana. Vanchitas to Uttarayana. Uttarayana is the time which is desired by the yogis to leave this world. So this Uttarayana generally happens in the month of January, during the Sankranti, Makar Sankranti. That is the time which is called Uttarayana. So that's the time when actually the sun starts traveling to northern hemisphere. So It is from the mid of July, I think 14th or 15th of July, the sun starts traveling to south. So Dakshinayana begins in July and Uttarayan begins in January. Generally, it's always on 13th or 14th of January. So for US, it will be mostly 13th or 14th of January, but in India, it's always 14th of January. So that is the Uttarayan period when the sun actually starts traveling to northern hemisphere. So that's considered a very auspicious time. That's the time when the sun actually enters into the sign of Capricorn. Sorry. Now text 30. Tadopasamhritya gira sahasranir vimukta sangam mana adi purushe krishne lasat pita pate chaturbhuje purasthite milita drik vyadarayat. Thereupon, that man who spoke on different subjects with thousands of meanings, and who fought on thousands of battlefields, and protected thousands of men, stopped speaking, and being completely freed from all bondage, withdrew his mind from everything else, and fixed his wide open eyes upon the original personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, who stood before him four-handed, dressed in yellow garments that glittered and shined. So Bhishmadev, the moment he realized that the Uttarayan period has started, as a great yogi, Bhishmadev could actually understand it's the most appropriate time for him to leave this world. So he withdrew his mind from the different subject matters that he was teaching to Yudhishthira Maharaj, the definitions of dharmas and everything else. He completely stopped speaking all that subject matter and fixed his mind and eyes on the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. So text 31. Vishuddhaya dharanaya hatashubhas tadikshevachu gata yudha shramam nivritta sarvendriya vritti vibhramas tushtavajanyam visrajan janardanam. By pure meditation, looking at Lord Sri Krishna, he at once was freed from all material inauspiciousness and was relieved of all bodily pains caused by the arrow wounds. Thus, all the external activities of his senses at once stopped, and he prayed transcendently to the controller of all living beings while quitting this material body. So, this is actually very significant verse. Bhishmadev was actually a very expert yogi as well. Not only a devotee, but he was also a great yogi. Gata Yuddha Shramaha. So Bhishmadev became free from. Gata Yuddha Shrama means he became free from fatigue. And the fatigue of Yuddha. Yuddha means battle, but here also Prabhupada says arrows. So the pain or fatigue caused by the arrows, so many arrows piercing his bodies, Bhishmadev became completely free from that. So how that is possible? how is it that Bhishma could actually become free from the pain? Actually, yogis are expert and subduing or transcending the pains. There's also instance in Mahabharata, about Savari, not Savari Muni, the name of the Muni. Markandeya, not Markandeya, Mandavya Muni. Mandavya Muni, he was punished by the king because some thieves stole some booty from the king's palace, and they were running, being chased by the soldiers, and soldiers came to the ashram of Mandukya Muni and left all the booty there and ran away. So the soldiers thought that Mandukya Muni was actually the thief. So without much inquiry or anything, they just brought Mandukya Muni to the king's presence, and the king, without looking much into the detail, he said, just give him, death punishment by piercing him with a spear in his rectum. And there used to be different ways of punishing the thieves, especially the death punishment used to be in so many different ways in the ancient times. Like some time ago, in all over the world, there used to be execution way of hanging the person. So covering the face of the person and then hanging him on the rope till that a person dies. Before that, there used to be electric chairs, or feeding poison to the person and killing that person. In ancient time, the kings used to have a severe punishment, and that used to be public. Public could actually come and see that punishment. Never used to be behind the wall, so that the criminals, they would have fear. They used to be fearful. So the king had ordered that the Mandavya Muni, thinking him to be a thief, so he should be pierced from the rectum with the spear. So the spear would be, put in the ground, and kind of a pole. It will be installed as a pole in the ground, and the person would be raised, and his rectum would be put right on the tip of the spear and left him. So the spear would just go inside the rectum and come piercing the person and come out from the head, and the person would die. That's how they used to kill the criminals. So Mandavya Muni was also given similar punishment. So he was put on the spear, from the rectum the spear went and actually came out from his head. But Mandavya Muni did not die. He was alive in that state because he could manage the pain. By going into samadhi, he was able to manage the pain. So for some time, he was put on that spear. And later on, the king realized, it was a great mistake. So he released Mandavya Muni and actually begged forgiveness from him. But this used to be the custom. So yogis could actually, manage. They had the technique of pain management. So similarly, Bhishma Dev, because his whole body was pierced with the arrows, he could manage the pain. But his management of pain was not some yogic techniques. His management of pain was by focusing his mind on Krishna. Tishtva Janyam Visrijanam Janardanam. By meditating on Janardan, the Lord of all living entities. Sorry. So we go to next verse, text 32. Shri Bhishma Uvacha Iti Mater Upakalpita Vrishna Bhagavati Satpata Pungave Vibhumi Swasukham Upagate Kvachit Vibratum Pratatim Upeshi Yad Bhava Pravaha. Bhishma Dev said, let me now invest my thinking, feeling, and willing, the power of thinking, feeling, and willing, which was so long engaged in different subjects and occupational duty, in the all powerful Lord Sri Krishna. He is always self satisfied, but sometimes, being the leader of devotee, he enjoys transcendental pleasure by descending to the material world. Although from him only the material world is created. So, Bhishma Dev is offering these beautiful prayers to now Krishna. He begins by saying, Iti matir upakalpita. Upakalpita means invested. So mati upakalpita. My mati, my consciousness was invested in uh, vitrishna. Vitrishna means trishna actually means sense enjoyment. But vitrishna means free from all the desires for sense enjoyment. How long my consciousness was engaged, upakalpita, in trishna, in fulfilling the material obligations and duties. But now let it be vitrishna, free from all the desires for sense enjoyment. Of course, Bhishma Dev never had any sense desire, or sense gratification. But he still had some worldly obligations. Like, for example, he always felt himself obligated to make sure that the kingdom was secured and a good king was established on the throne of Hastinapur. So that was his material concern. But now he's saying, let my mind be completely free from all such concern. So he's offering, his consciousness at the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and he's glorifying the Supreme Lord. Bhagavati Satvata Pungave Vibhumi. Satvata Pungave means Pungave means the best or the leader, and Satvata means the Vaishnavas or devotees. So one, the Supreme Lord Bhagavan, who is Satvata Pungave, who is leader of all the Vaishnavas, and Vibhumi. Vibhu is the Almighty. So unto that Supreme Lord Vibhu, who is actually great, and the attributes are being described. Vibhu is one of the attributes of the Supreme Lord. He's Vibhu. He's not Anu. He's Vibhu. Vibhu means unlimited. He's the greatest than greater than the greatest. And Swasukham. Swasukham means one who is self-satisfied within. And Upagate. Upagate, which it means sorry. Swasukham upagate kvachit vibhratum. Who has actually attained the self-satisfaction. And Vibhratum means out of his own desire, he performs the Leela. Prakritim upeyushi. In the material world, he does accept a role. So he comes to the material world, simply for his Leela, simply for his own enjoyment. Yet bhava pravaha. Bhava pravaha means, repetition of birth and death. That is called bhava. And pravaha is used in the sense of flow. So bhava pravaha means the flow of repetition of birth and death. So generally when you see the river is always flowing in one direction. But bhava pravaha is both directions. So if you say one direction is creation, the other direction is dissolution. They both happen simultaneously. So therefore, it's called bhava pravaha, the continuous flow of repetition of birth and death. So the world is being created, at the same time the world is being destroyed. At every moment, living entities are being created, at every moment, living entities are being destroyed. So in this way, the Supreme Lord, he comes to this material world, which is actually bhava pravaha, the repetition of birth and death, the flow of the repetition of birth and death, simply for the sake of his own pastimes. So I think we'll stop here. If anyone has any question, maybe we can take one question.
I have one question, Prabhuji, but I'll wait for the other devotees to ask you, if anyone has.
I think maybe you can go ahead.
So, Prabhuji, we discussed today about the charity. We should not give to anyone, or anywhere kind of discussion. So, we see like, the beggars, like, street side beggars. And then when we go on yatra, pilgrimages, we see a lot of, sadhus. We don't know, but at least they are in, dressed up as sadhus and all, asking, begging. And also other thing you said, like we should not give charity of hair, which is very famous in the United States, like, even in India too, like giving the hair for cancer patients and all. But when we go to Tirupati temple in south side, they kind of give their hair, like, to the god. So can you just explain me to understand this, Prabhuji?
Sure, Bhakti. Thank you. Thank you for bringing the clarification. So giving anything in charity to the Lord is completely acceptable. So Tirupati is a place, it's not that we give our hair to the Lord, but the custom is you go to any holy dham, you're supposed to shave your head. That's a custom. It's not only in Tirupati, but any holy place we go. The very first day we reach, we are supposed to shave our head. You're supposed to, become clean, leave our hair and mustache where possible, everything shave off in the holy place of the. So that's a custom. It's not that we give our hair in charity to Lord Balaji. That's a code, or this is etiquette for the dham. So generally you go to the dham, very first day you shave and you take bath in the holy river, and then you fast for that first day if possible. These are some of the injunctions of the scriptures. Now, as far as the giving charity to sadhus, as I said, charity to Brahmanas and Vaishnavas is always welcome. Okay. Now, if you are not sure whether the person who is appearing to be sadhu is actually a genuine sadhu or a saintly person, then best is to always give food in the charity. Especially food that is offered to Krishna in the form of prasadam. So if you give prasadam in charity, no matter whom you are giving, is perfectly fine. The prasadam charity can be given to everyone, including animals. Even dogs and lower animals can be given the charity of foodstuffs, especially Krishna prasadam. Not any kind of foodstuff, but only Krishna prasadam. So, like, giving charity to the homeless people. So you think, okay, homeless person also has a dog, so let me give some dog food. That is seriously implicating. The dog food is non-veg food. So even if you are giving that food for the dog, you're still getting implicated in the cycle of karma. I hope that answers your question, Madhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. And what about, like, on the street side, we see beggars, like, giving the money or.
Same thing applicable. As I said, uh, prasadam can be given to anyone and everyone. So it's the duty of especially devotees to extend Krishna's mercy in the form of prasad to underprivileged people. So it's always good practice to, have some prasadam always carried in the car. Now, of course, in India, we used to always cook something and carry, but here, cooked food may not be the best choice. You know, if you are carrying, say, for example, the homemade cooked food, some nice, sweets, you could actually get into trouble. So it's always good to buy some vegetarian cookies or something that is actually pre-packed. And then maybe, you can open one packet and offer to the deities in your home and distribute the packed food only, this cookie packets as whole. You can give it to beggars, people, especially homeless people who are on the roadside more. You can always distribute those. And people, I think, very happily accept those. If you have, like, say, I'm not any particular about it, but, I generally keep small packets of Parle-G offered to the deities or deities, and I always keep it. But you can choose any cookies, which are vegetarian, doesn't have any objectionable ingredients, and you can always distribute.
But we can't give the money, right, Prabhuji?
Preferably not, because here people, even if they go and simply eat food, you don't know what kind of food they will eat. No.
Just follow-up question, Prabhuji. So in pilgrimages, when we go to Dham, we shave the hair. Does that signify any kind of detachment, Prabhuji?
Yes, generally, you are giving up your hair because hair is this immense attachment people generally have, right? Especially you see movie stars, sports stars, and especially even children, they have so much attachment to their hair, right? I remember even when I was a teenage boy, I used to keep long hair and and go for hair cutting, and then my father would say, "What hair cutting you did? You have same long hair, and what kind of hair cutting you did?" So attachment to hair is very common, very natural. So when you're going to Holy Dham, you're just giving up that kind of attachment that it's kind of an offering.
Thank you, Prabhuji. And I want to thank you, Prabhuji, for taking out time every Wednesday and giving your association, because I know you have very hectic day and you have other sevas. So you could see you're so tired, but still you kind of give your association and help us, with Bhagavatam. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I want to appreciate.
Thank you, Madaji, for giving me an opportunity to serve the Vaishnavas here in this forum. Thank you. Vanchava kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyascha patitam